Well, hello, everyone. I hope you're doing well. So, in an attempt to preserve, to the extent that we can, the personal human connection in this class, I thought it might be useful to, from here to the end of the semester, begin to post some short video introductions to the material that we'll be working with. I don't necessarily think that you need these introductions. Most of what I will say you can find in the 10 or 15 minutes of contextual work that you will do, but I thought it might be useful to, I don't know, attempt to the extent that we can under these circumstances to recreate the experience of actually being in class together. So that's the purpose of this video and the subsequent videos that I'll make through the end of the semester. First, I want to say that I was very impressed by your discussion of the Bill of Rights and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It felt like we were in class together. It was great. I thoroughly enjoyed reading your responses and replies to each other. So keep up the good work. You're doing really well. In this video, I want to introduce very briefly the topic for the next 3 readings in our course. If you've noticed, the general theme of this section of the course is the self and nature, and we're going to look at that question from a variety of different angles. The first reading in this section of the course is by a fellow named Karl Popper, and the text is called Science as Falsification. Karl Popper, as I'm sure you will have learned with a little bit of Google research, was an Austrian-born philosopher of science. He was, of course, interested in all sorts of areas of philosophy, but he's most remembered today, I think, for his work in the philosophy of science. Popper was especially interested in a couple of questions related to the philosophy of science. So one question that will come up prominently in the reading that you will do is, what is science? What distinguishes science from non-science, or what Popper will call pseudoscience? That's the first question. And this is going to occupy a large portion of Popper's energy in the text, Science as Falsification. The second question that Popper is interested in has to do with the way in which scientists gather evidence, marshal evidence, in order to formulate scientific hypotheses and to confirm those hypotheses. He thinks, and you'll get this sense as you're reading through the text, he thinks that we are in general operating under a misconception about the way that the scientific enterprise works. That misconception is relatively easy to state. So Popper thinks that the general sort of layperson's conception of the way that science works is that one forms an hypothesis and then one looks for evidence to confirm that hypothesis. Yeah? And then an hypothesis is powerful, proven, persuasive to the extent that it is able to marshal a great deal of confirming evidence, that is to say, evidence in its favor. Popper thinks this is a wrong-headed way of approaching the question, and so he will propose an alternative picture of scientific investigation, which he calls science as falsification. So he argues, as you will see, that in order for a theory to count as scientific rather than pseudoscientific, it ought not to be so interested in providing confirmation for its views, but rather falsification. So falsification, according to science, according to Popper, is the fundamental criteria. It's the condition of a scientific hypothesis. An hypothesis that cannot be, even in principle, disconfirmed or falsified is, for that reason alone, not, according to Popper, a scientific hypothesis. So I want you to sort of keep this idea in mind as you're reading the Popper piece. I know many of you are studying science, so hopefully you will be energized and exercised by this reading, and I really, really look forward to seeing what it is that you think about it. Okay, so just a very, very brief introduction to the Popper piece. I am going to also post a brief introduction to the Ridley piece. As always, if you have any questions at all, anything seems obscure, ambiguous, it's unclear, let me know, and I'll be happy to help in any way that I can. Okay, that's all for now, and I hope you have a very good Saturday. At least it's Saturday right now. Don't know when it is when you'll watch this video. All right, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.